Good morning. I'd like to bring the November 15th, 2023 Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. Official start of this meeting is 9 a.m. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Thank you. I remind those in the audience and those watching on TV that this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception request brought before us today. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against that request or to inquire about said request. The commissioners will have any needed discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place and a recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is forwarded to the city council with 2 independent recommendations. If the planning department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of the letter stating the denial to notify the clerk of council that they are requesting to be placed on the city council's agenda. The City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting called the first reading. Said council shall consider the case, review Planning Advisory Commission and Planning Department recommendations, and hear discussions on the matter. Council will make a final decision at a second public meeting called the second reading. All right, before we get started, I wanted to mention that case REZN 10-23-1996 request to rezone 32.98 acres of land located at 5674 Whittlesley Boulevard has been delayed. So if there's anyone here for that case, that case has been delayed. All right, we don't have any minutes. All right, that brings us to our first case of the day. REZN 10-23-1989, a request to rezone 0.62 acres of land located at 3914, 3922 Buena Vista Road. Current zoning is neighborhood commercial zoning district. Proposed zoning is general commercial zoning district. The proposed use is a convenience store with gas sales. Surrogate Estate 5 LLC is the applicant. The property is located in Council District 1 Barnes. Could we please hear from staff?
Good morning. The current land use designation is general commercial for that property, and that is the future land use designation as well, so it is consistent with the general land use. They want to do a convenience store with gas sales. That convenience store would be 3,325 square feet with 4 fuel pumps. The average annual daily trips would increase by 131 trips if used for commercial. Right now, GDOT has acquired part of that property as part of their Diverging Diamond Interchange project. So they have taken part of that temporarily and part of that property permanently. And when they are done with that project, they will release that part of Buena Vista back to the city. So right now, there are temporary restrictions with the entrances to that property.
You said they'll release it back to the city or they'll release it back to the owner of the property?
Both. They're using that part of the road. We don't have permission to tell them what curb cuts to do right now or anything like that. That's a GDOT project, so they're using that road and they're using that access.
Okay, but then it will revert to ownership of the private owner.
Yes, and that part of Buena Vista will revert back to the city.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from commissioners concerning the staff report? All right. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and give us a brief overview of your said request?
Good morning. My name is Austin Gibson. I'm an attorney at Page Strand. I'm here in Columbus. Our office address is 1111 Bay Avenue, 3rd floor in Columbus. We're here this morning for this rezoning for Surya Estate 6 LLC. They've got a project on Buena Vista Road. They've bought 2 lots directly next door to each other. And, this is the map that, the best satellite image we could get. But as Morgan mentioned, GDOT's doing a lot right there. And so everything's changed. And my understanding is once GDOT's done with their thing, Linden Circle, the entrance to Linden Circle on the left here that you can see on this map, won't be accessible anymore. I don't know that that's the case, but that's what I've been told. So that little driveway there may be shut down, and then I think there will be some other differences as well that may or may not affect this property. As Morgan said, the current land use is, or the current zoning is neighborhood commercial, but the future land use is GC, and most of the obviously the properties behind this are also neighborhood commercial. This is the site plan. It's very small on this screen, but as you can see, we have a building for the convenience store, and then we have 4 gas pumps under the canopy there, and there will be 2 points of entry on Buena Vista Road there, so the gas trucks will be able to come in and come right back out. This developer has done several developments in the Columbus area. They're from here, they live here, and they've had a lot of success here. 2 of those developments are unrelated to a gas station, which being Old Chicago Pizza and Pure Taqueria, both restaurants in North Columbus that I think have done very well and are well thought of in the community. They've also done 2 gas station developments, one being SK Market, which is at the intersection of Williams Road and Fortson Road in North Columbus, and then also the Maple Plaza near Northside High School on Veterans Parkway. This is an elevation of their proposed development. It is a franchise, Extra Miles, a franchise that's generally operated mostly out west. They do have 1,052 branches, and that's probably an obsolete number at this point. They work with Texaco and Chevron, and they have, and there's a map showing, they've expanded recently into Mississippi and Alabama, and this would be their first store in Georgia. They have, it's a well done gas station that has loyalty programs, coffee, food, those sorts of things. So it's a little bit different than what your typical mom and pop gas station might be. Hours of operation wise, it's going to be set mostly by the franchisor, but it's not going to be 24 hours. It's going to be 7 to 10, 7 to 11, something like that. And then here's what I was mentioning about the membership offers and things like that. So it's all very controlled by the franchisor. So it's going to be well done. I mean, they don't have a choice other than to do what the franchisor is doing. So a lot of the gas stations issues that we oftentimes see in meetings like this with, bingo machines and, that sort of stuff, hopefully is not going to be an issue here because this is all very well regulated and it's going to be a very nice, well done gas station. So ultimately, I'll go back to the site plan while we finish up here. But ultimately, this project's already going to be served by all city services. It's not going to require any additional investment by the city. This property is currently vacant. And so, the development of this property would not only provide jobs and construction benefits and those things, sales tax revenue, but it would also increase ad valorem taxes for the property. So it would be a benefit to the tax digest of the city as well. So ultimately, I think in this situation, even though it is a gas station, you all know as well as I do that a lot of times when you bring a gas station, to get rezoned, a lot of times people have a lot of problems. To my knowledge, there haven't been any, there hasn't been any negative feedback on this project, and I haven't received any calls on it. So I think in this situation, you've got a gas station that's probably in the right location. It's directly off of the I-185 interchange. You've got a developer who's from this area, who's developed in this area, and has had a lot of success in this area. So I think this would be a positive development for the community, and we'd ask you to recommend approval of this rezoning. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, Randy. Yes, Gloria.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great.
I noticed on the different different pictures that you showed us,
Sure.
that there were other businesses next door. Was there like a is it going to be a gas station only, or is it going to be a gas station, a pizza place, and you know how some of them have different things with them?
Right. I don't know. This one is, the site plan at least shows 3,200-ish for the gas station. Then there is a 600 square feet little thing off to the left there. And I don't know what that would be used for, but I would assume that may be, some separate business potentially, or it may be storage. I just don't know at this point.
But it's not part of the gas station though, right? Will it be part of the gas station?
That extra 600 square feet, it may or may not
May
be.
or
They
may
could
not.
just use it for storage, I don't know. But it looks to me, at least on the concept plan, that it's being built for someone else to go in that little space right there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, any other questions? Yes, Rick.
Good morning. Is there any proposed fencing or buffer behind the development between that and the residents behind it?
There's not right now, mostly because those properties are currently zoned NC, and so I think the buffering requirements are a little different between commercial properties.
There's no buffer requirement between NC and GC. So they don't have to do a buffer. They could if they'd like to, but they don't have to.
And so I guess a clarifying point as well, at least, you know, when you Google these properties and all of that, it looks like those are residences, but I know the two houses directly behind this development are businesses.
Was 11 and 12?
Yes, sir, I think that's correct.
Okay.
All right, any other questions among commissioners? Would the commissioner like to make a motion? Yes, Mr. King.
I'll be glad to. Regarding case number REZN 1023-1989, request to rezone 0.62 acres land located at 3914 and 3922 Buena Vista Road. I make a motion that we accept this rezoning based on the fact it's compatible with existing land uses and it's included in the plan going forward.
Get a second. Yes, Mr. Dillon. All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to our second case of the day, REZN-11-23-0218, a request for a text amendment to amend section 4.3.25 and section 4.10.1 of the Unified Development Ordinance, the UDO, in regards to electric vehicles and key lock boxes. The planning department is the applicant.
Ricky Shores is here to discuss those text amendments with you today.
Okay.
I'm not Ricky Shores, I'm John Shore, but I'm filling in.
John is going to fill in for Ricky Shores today.
Yeah. So yeah, the Locks box is, this is used in a lot of other cities right now. So we're kind of behind, you know, it really, the old way of doing this is we have this key ring in our fire trucks that have 1 million keys on them. So this is a way better way of doing business. So the Knox box is it's an electric key. It's an E-key that we have in the fire trucks. It has full accountability. So we know who's getting into that box in the fire trucks that has the key. They have a code that they have to put in. So we know when they got it, what time they got it, where they were, what structure that they accessed. And so, and what the business owner will do is they'll put the keys inside the box. So what we're doing is we have one at the front entrance and we have one at the rear. And this is not only for fire purposes. So the benefit for fire is that if we go there after hours, that, you know, we're able to get there without, you know, if we suspect that there's a fire, if we maybe, at any degree, we suspect there's a fire, we're not going to damage your property to try to get in. Same thing applies if it's maybe an emergency medical call. You know, so if we think that there's a patient in there, we're not going to destroy your property to try to get in. So this allows us to get in after hours. And it's a way to do it where you have one key that gets into that box. And then you have all the keys for us to access that particular structure is inside of the box. Again, this is being done at a lot of different places around the nation. And so I think it's a really good, it's going to be a great program. The school board has kind of led off with this. So we're getting them installed right now in all the schools. And we would love to make it a requirement going into the future. Maybe not for existing, with some exception to perhaps like gated communities like apartments where we do sometimes have problems getting into those gated communities, like getting into the gate. Like Whisper would be a great example of a place that we don't always, like we have a card and then the number changes, or the system that they have in place doesn't always work properly. So this is a great way for us to access those gated communities as well. And I've been, every 2 months, I meet with the Housing Authority. This is a great program for that. So the Housing Authority, as many of you know, I mean, it has an older class of people. It has people that have mobility issues. And what's great about that is we have access to get in. So like, let's say Nicholson Terrace is a great example. That's a building that it's a high rise for one. There's an entrance to get in there. Keys change over time, and sometimes we're not notified, so we're trying to get in there. So this is that one e-key that can get us into that door. And then if they've identified people that have mobility issues, and let's say that we respond to them a lot for medical calls, they can provide the key, let's say 505. It's in there, and so we can access that resident's room, again, without breaking in the door. So that's what the Knox box is.
How you doing? Okay, you said it's for the fire department. Normally in emergency, the ambulance also accompanies.
Yes, so I left that out. So it's not just for fire.
Okay.
And the police units are gonna have them, the sheriff's office. That's the intention.
Okay.
To get everybody, yes, the ambulances, and as you know, half the ambulances belong to the fire department right now. Now, moving forward and getting them into the private ambulances, I'm not sure how that's going to take place. I know that we've talked to the private ambulances, at least the ones that respond to 911 calls, but we would love to have, the goal is to have 100%, so that all public safety can access these structures in the way that I've mentioned.
Thank you.
And I might just say, when it comes to EVs, I mean, this is something that definitely has our attention in the community. There have been, as we have seen, electric vehicles become more prevalent in the nation. We all think that this is going to be, we're going to see more and more electric vehicles. So we just want to make sure that they have the appropriate shutoffs. That there is a standard for these energy storage points where you're getting your vehicle charged. And just one thing to keep in mind is that in the new NFPA, which the state has not adopted yet, but I'm quite sure that they will, in your standalone parking garages, the requirement under, I think, 2022's NFPA publication is that standalone parking garages are required to have sprinkler systems, and a sprinkler system that accommodates an emergency vehicle. And you're like, well, why an emergency vehicle? What's the difference? Well, it takes a larger volume of water, sometimes 2 to 2.5 times as much water as your fuel-powered vehicles. So it definitely has the attention of the fire department, because the way that we're having to fight, EV type fires, it's different, and the way that we might, even the way that we may respond to a pin-in, it's not, it's not wired the same. So you have a lot of stranded energy in these EVs. So it's requiring a lot of training on our part when we respond, but then we want to make sure that there definitely is a standard going forward for these energy storage points.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
Okay, they will also be up under the same thing as the fire department. You would know who's getting the key and when they're getting the key and all that, correct?
I'm sorry?
They would be up under the same order as the fire department. You said that we would know who's getting the keys, what time, they would be up under the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll have a list of those. So And this is one of the things that Chief Shores has been kind of heading this up. He's out of town doing some training up in Athens today, so he asked me to step in. But yeah, so and again, like what's great about this is that we have full accountability. So if we respond to any particular structure, we can tell who accessed that key. And if that key gets missing, we know who accessed that box last time on that truck, on that emergency vehicle. So this gives us full accountability where, again, the old way of doing it is this key ring that's inside of our fire trucks that's just got 1 million keys on there. And, so the likelihood that you could lose one of those is far greater than having something that's secured and knowing who's accessing that box.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
And along the lines of Gloria's question, would the police have the same accountability?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And they would use it for what purposes?
So it's the same thing, after hours access. So if a burglar alarm goes off in any particular building, they can access it as well. So this allows them, for some businesses, a part of our pre-planning anyway in the fire department includes getting points of contact so that we know who to call after hours. Well, we get there and we call this person and they live in Troup County maybe, who knows? But it could take a long time to get there. The problem is for us, and the problem with PD as well, I mean, if there is an actual break-in going on and they haven't spotted where the person has breached that structure, or in our case, if there is a fire, but it's at a smaller phase of fire growth, and we don't see any obvious signs of that outside the structure, we can get inside there and the quicker, everything about what we do in public safety is about time. So the quicker that we can respond, the quicker that we can get to the scene of the fire, the less dollar loss, the more likely it is that we're going to save that structure or anybody that might be inside that's trapped inside.
And this is only for private businesses or the entrances to gated communities. It's not individual residences.
No, it's not. Now, they can request that. If they want to. I don't know who might. It's not common that you see that in the residential neighborhoods. And we've had a lot of discussions with other agencies, fire agencies, of course. But yeah, it's not common that you might have somebody that has maybe some very large property, and it might be some odd situation where we have access to somebody's residential property, but that's not common.
All right. Yes, Mr. Stallings.
Is there, would there be any notification to a private business owner if there was access, if access was made into their business?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How would that be done?
Well, we're going to get notified. We will be notified, and I work in the community risk reduction division, so we'll be notified and we'll contact that business owner. We don't expect that to always be done by those on scene, but the responding unit, again, does have points of contact, so they could contact that person. But we'll be notified of the event, and we will ensure that the owner is notified.
Is this something that you're looking to make mandatory for private businesses to have?
Well, so yes, for future businesses. So not, and that's kind of the way the fire code works right now. So if I was to go in any particular structure based on the type of occupancy, and I would only expect them to be compliant with the fire code for when they receive their certificate of occupancy. So if they got that back in '99, I would have to apply the life safety codes and all the NFPA codes and the state fire code to the time that they started their business and they got their CO. They make any adjustments to that structure or it changes hands, then we bring them up to current codes. But so to answer your question, sir, yes, we're looking at using this for future businesses, not making it a requirement for all of the existing businesses to use it. Hopefully, they see what a lot of these businesses see, that this is a better deal for them, and they can and of course all of them can request to have a Knox box, and then we approve that purchase, and then we get them set up, we get them commissioned. But hopefully this would encourage that, so it'll catch on.
Is there a fee to the business owner, or is this part of the city budget? I just don't know.
Well, they'll have to pay for the, we have no fee attached to it, but they'll have to pay for the product and the service.
What does that run approximately?
You know what? I think the boxes are somewhere, and I'm sorry I don't know that exactly, it's somewhere around just north of $900 for to purchase the box itself.
Okay, thank you.
And again, what we would like to have is one in the front and one in the rear. And you know, not just the EMS, but you could have an active shooter event where it's advantageous for us to have access to, that structure and all of maybe some of the rooms inside of that structure that we need to access.
Has there been any thought given to the size of a business? Say, for example, let's say you're a 1 or 2 man shop.
Yeah.
Compared to, 50 employees. Or are you looking at a one size fits all?
We are. So that, if you're a mercantile or a business, and so the criteria for that is less than 50 people inside that. If you're over 50, you're considered an assembly. We definitely would want to require it for that type of building. All our special hazard occupancies as defined by the state. Think about places where people are sleeping at night. Hotels may be the exception if they have 24 hours. So there's somebody that is running the office that can open doors and they're there for 24 hours. If they can't be there for 24 hours, and I can't, I don't know. I guess some hotels maybe shut down for a few hours.
For example, let's say you have an insurance agency office that has 4 employees.
Yes.
They would be under the same requirement as, say, a manufacturing plant with 50 employees.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what Chief Shores has discussed with Chief Scarpa to like the size of the business and the number of occupants in it. I'd have to. I could get back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Thomas.
One more question. Okay, does this apply to churches?
Churches?
Yeah, I know, I don't know if you call it a business or what, but you have different churches. Are they required to have this box?
So, yes. And again, I think it goes back to your question, Mr. Stalling, where, what size is the church? And I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you. Again, I can get some answers for you. But we do go to some churches, some pretty large churches after hours. So it would be good for us to access those locations.
Right, because no one is there 24 hours.
Yeah,
that's why
nobody's going to be there 24
right.
hours. So yeah, I can get you that information. I'm sorry that I don't have that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions among commissioners? Would a commissioner like to make a motion? Yeah, to approve the amendment. Do we vote on that? Yeah, do we vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Yeah. Would they like to make a motion to approve the
I'll make the
UDO? Go ahead, Ralph.
I already folded up my paper. All right, in regards to REZN 11230218, a request for a text amendment change to amend section 4.3.25 and section 4.10.1 of the UDO in regards to electric vehicles and key lock boxes. I'll make a motion we approve this.
Wait, those are 2 separate ones, right?
Can we do them together? All right. I make a motion that we approve both of these sections.
All right, we have a second? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, all those against? All right. It's noted. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other business concerning this commission?
We have cases. The fifth.
We do, we're gonna have 2 cases for the 5th.
All right. Commission would like to make a motion to adjourn? All right, second. All right, we're adjourned.